in last month's packet, leaving the public completely out of the decision-making process. But then there was also the simultaneous inclusion in last month's board packet and the request for approval from the board of the rule changes needed to accommodate the Walnut Hills. So why didn't the executive director simply give that group a special permit as he did the snowmobilers? And the other thing is that I, by public records request, got a copy of the current organizational chart for the Jump Park District. And I'm wondering, where is the Natural Resource Management Department? It's not on there. Does that department no longer exist? And as I thought about all these issues this morning, I realized that they all have one thing in common. Judge Grandel, the invisible elephant in this room, and a presence far more real and far scarier than Bigfoot. If you look at the current organization chart, the judge's name is at the top of the chart, above the Board of Commissioners. Below the commissioners is the Executive Director, John Oros. But as has become perfectly clear from all the changes of the Board of Commissioners over the last couple of years, the judge's control over board members is imperfect. Hence, the bylaws change, removing powers from the board and giving them to Mr. Oros. Just briefly, because I've talked about this bylaws amendment before, I urge the board to maintain what control it has over the finances of this organization and reject the bylaws amendments that will take away your authority and give it to Mr. Oros, which frankly pretty much means giving more power to the judge. John, I like you, John. You and Kathy Hanratty and I had a frank conversation last summer at Sunnybrook, at which you said you had to look out for your family first. And I think everyone knows what that means. I'm a family person too, and my heart really does go out to you. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. One of those two things, the rock or the hard place, being the judge who is above you on the organization chart and who controls the makeup of the board that can fire you. Your job is on the line if you don't do as you're told. We all know that, but I wanted it on the public record. At the meeting at Sunnybrook, you also told me that you agreed with Protect Geauga Park's 4 common sense standards for assessing uses of the park, such as the snowmobile use. Yes, you agree with them. No, you didn't and you couldn't agree to use them. You didn't use any of those standards in unilaterally deciding to allow snowmobiles at Observatory Park. You didn't use your own experts to assess the environmental impact of Observatory Park. You made some attempt to assess the financial impact of the project, but you could have done a more thorough job of that. You seemingly failed to consider whether snowmobiles had other and better facilities to use in the county, which they do, and you deliberately kept the entire decision-making process from the public, and even as far as the public can see from the board itself. I'm sure you would have liked to have done this a better way, a more public way, with the support of everybody, using the 4 common sense standards that you agreed with to assess snowmobiling, but sadly, you're stuck between that rock and that hard place. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm almost done. So again, I urge the board to reject the bylaws amendments before you today. I ask why temporary noncompliance with park rules came before the board for vote in relation to Walnut Hills, but not in relation to allowing snowmobiling in the park. I ask whether this park district still has a natural resource management department at all. And most importantly, I ask whether it is impossible for all the people in this room to come together and stand up to the bully who runs this park district from the courthouse. Thank you.
Is there anything else? This will be our last.
My name's Nick Smurdell. I live in Clarendon Township. It's my first meeting. I had no intention, honestly, to come up here and speak, but after listening to some people speaking, I figured I'd come up here and wing it. I am a snowmobiler, and I'm pretty amazed that, there's a lot of, I think, misinformation out there. I've heard people, speaking that they're allowed, and I've read some letters in the paper that, they tear things up and stuff like that, and, maybe that was the case, years ago, but the new snowmobiles now, they are relatively quiet. And it's not like a four-wheeler or a motocross bike that does tear up the trail. You know, I have permission where I live to snowmobile in fields and private property of my neighbors, and they have no issues. I think if they did have some issues, they would, you know, now allow that. The other thing is I am a member of a snowmobile club over in Chautauqua, New York, and I don't always have the time to load up my sled, drive the 2 hours to Chautauqua and go snowmobiling. And I have a 12-year-old daughter, and it's nice, you know, to do things with her, to be outside of nature. And, you know, I was glad to see that we can snowmobile somewhere more locally in a park, taking the baby to the nature, and not have to go to Chautauqua all the time. New York has about 10,000 miles of snowmobile trails. The majority of them are actually on private property, and there's a lot that go through state parks and local parks and that. And they have a great system out there. They, you know, don't really have that many issues. If they did, they wouldn't be able to maintain it year after year. And I really don't understand the hesitation in snowmobiling. You know, somebody mentioned earlier about Cleveland tried the system and it didn't work. Well, they don't have any snow. I mean, they get a little bit of snow, but they don't live in the snow belt like we do, you know. My mom lives in Cleveland, and there's times I go over there and you got grass. I go into my house and I got 4 feet of snow. So I'm not surprised that didn't work. As far as insurance goes, I do have a policy, a separate policy, just like all my other vehicles for snowmobile insurance. You know, most snowmobilers are very responsible people. And, you know, yes, they are expensive, but if people weren't responsible, they probably won't be able to afford one to begin with. So I just ask you guys to, you know, try to keep an open mind and look at the current snowmobiles, you know, as far as their low levels of noise and things like that, as opposed to just, you know, being all nervous about snowmobiling on in the park. Because one of the most beautiful areas in New York that I like to go to is these state parks out there, because you get access to see some amazing beauty that you just really don't see if you'd be on foot or, you know, in the summertime. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
One more, just one more.
We are finished, thank you. You can send any of us an email at any time. Thank you.
They sent you an email this month and I didn't get a response.
So I just got my email set up, we were just having difficulties in the other room, so as soon as they get it to me, I'll review it. Thank you.
You know, at the last meeting, I made a point to say that I was definitely against snowmobile. I haven't changed my mind. I respect these two people that came today, because they're not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the guys that couldn't give a damn about where they're going, what time of night, or whose property. If you don't believe me, look at the beer joints at 2 o'clock in the morning and see the snowmobiles that are parked there. There's no trailers, which means in order to get there, they had a trespass, for one thing. So, and one other thing I wanted to mention. Judge Grindale gets a bad slap. I've been on this board over a year. I've talked to him 3 times. Nothing about the park. In fact, the last time it was at my wife's wake that we said so. But he's never directed me in any way whatsoever other than to run my own show. So just remember that. I have a lot of respect for him. If it weren't the fact that he's a very conscientious man, wants to see things run right, he gets a bad rap. Not from me.
All right, next up is the presentation of the financial statement. Michelle, if you can come up, any questions?
Good morning. Okay, we're going to start today with the general fund. We began the month with $6,275,578.61. We had expenditures totaling $374,929.76, and revenue totaling $20,426.89. Ending the month with $5,921,75.74. We will be expecting our first tax amount to come in usually in March, so you're aware. Land Improvement Fund, beginning balance $2,883,745.83. Expenditures, $6,453.11. Revenue, $602.19. Ending balance, $2,877,894.91. Retirement reserve account, beginning the month, $57,509.51. Income of $11.88. No expenditures. Ending balance, $57,521.39. And if there's no questions, I'll move on to the vouchers. Okay. Vouchers this month total of $381,382.87 combined for all three funds. Were there any questions on the vouchers? If not, I would request the motion to accept into the minutes.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call the roll. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next up, under unfinished business are the bylaw revisions that were brought to your attention at last month's meeting. Question on motion,
Also move to accept the ballot.
second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, we can call the vote. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, on to new business. A quick sit down, Michelle. Come. Okay. For the bylaw revisions?
You
Okay.
need an individual.
You want them individually?
Can you
Okay.
do-
Okay.
I so move to accept Article 12,
Okay.
Resolution number 4-16.
Okay. A second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
Mr. Barker?
Yes.
And we need to back up one for Article 11.
A motion to approve Article 11, Resolution 3-16.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to new business.
You need a,
Did I miss something?
you're at the new fund, correct?
Yes, correct.
Can I ask that, as stated, I think we talked about it in the past, to make the motion in a second before we discuss?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine.
You have before you a new fund account approval. This is in regards to the capital projects land acquisition fund to set up the revenue and the expense accounts over with the county auditor.
I so move.
I second.
All right, any discussion? There is none. We're going to call the roll. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is cash transfer, Resolution 6-16. Going back to the computer here, so get them all over.
This one's for land improvement.
616 is the one you wanted to table?
We're not doing the capital projects, we're doing land improvement.
Okay, gotcha.
This particular one should be, was originally marked as number 7, it's number 6. We're not doing the capital projects land acquisition one, that'll be at a future date. So this is the land improvement fund cash transfer. This is to move $2 million from general fund to the land improvement fund.
That would be labeled as Resolution 716 in your board packet. Make sure everyone's, all right, okay. All right. Requesting a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? All right, Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. On to budget amendment number 2, resolution 816.
This particular amendment is to increase various line items that were found out about after the budget was approved, including some Wi-Fi services to add DSL line and Wi-Fi over at the Ackelder House upon completion of the improvements over there, including the hardware, and to increase the county tax expense and county state tax expense. These are the fees that our county auditor charges us to distribute the county real estate tax to us. It was determined in the last audit that we needed to have an account set up for the fees to be charged to us. Previously, it was just rolled into, and we were given net. And also $1 million for transfer out. So we request a resolution to increase the 2016 supplemental appropriation for general fund in the amount of $1,092,981.
Requesting a motion.
Motion.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, call the roll. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Vettori?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
All right. One more budget amendment.
This was the month for amendments. We are requesting an increase in the land improvement fund budget of $1 million, bringing the new land improvement, land acquisition total appropriations that would be available to $2,500,000. So with this increase, we're requesting a resolution of $1 million increase in supplemental appropriations.
Also move.
Motion and a second by Mrs. Vettori. Any discussion?
Yeah, help me a little bit here with the land acquisition, and then we already did a land improvement. How do these?
Mesh?
Yeah.
Sure. The land improvement is the actual fund, and the land acquisition is the line item within it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If none, call the roll. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Vettori?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, I don't need a motion on this, just simply wanted to bring this up if there was any discussion. Some of the large expenditure items for 2016, so I want to bring those to your attention. You approved the budget at the January board meeting, thank you, but if there any further discussion on any of these items, we want to bring them to your attention. Excuse me. Any further questions, any discussion?
I just had one question, Ken. I wondered whether or not we had employed the use of the white Amur fish in any of our fishing areas. I noticed it's down here. I had an occasion to go to Lake Claude. They have a sign right there that said, if you catch one, put it right back. Well, that means they use it.
Right.
And I know the state does, so I don't know, I haven't had any report back to me whether or not they bought any last year.
We do have them stocked in some of our lakes. I don't recall exactly where. Do you recall, Matt?
I know the question to whether we used them last year, we did not. In the fish stock.
You didn't?
They were not in the species that we used in the stocking last year.
Are you planning on trying to use it this
We
year?
discussed it with the pathologist and he seemed open to it.
Yeah, I've had 20 years' experience with them, and they're excellent.
Could I make a comment about that, since there's no one here from the park naturalist?
Please send us an email, we would appreciate it.
Just,
Okay. Okay.
so those of you who are not aware, the white Amur grass carp. They are a vegetation eater, so that they assist in keeping some of the undesirable vegetations out of our lakes and ponds. So I know we have stocked them, as Matt said, we did not stock them last year, and Paul is going to take a look at including some of them for 2016 stocking, so.
Well, it eliminates any chemicals you're gonna put in too. They do a real good job on the weed. Okay, go on.
Thank you. Any other questions about 2016 large budgeted expenditures? If not, we'll move on to my place here. The Rookery Trail asphalt resurfacing. We're requesting a motion from the board because this project is above the bid threshold as required by revised code. Matt is here if you have any questions. Resurfacing the trails of the Rookery with asphalt. Right now they're chip sealed. They're the original trails that had been at that park since it was built, whatever that was, mid-90s. And so we'll be replacing those trails and a number of things that Matt cited there in his memo. So, half-mile trail, improved accessibility, improved drainage. Estimated budget of $70,000.
I so moved to accept.
I second.
Any discussion or questions? Go ahead and call the roll. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Vittori?
Yes.
And Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Next up is to make you aware of a budget reallocation. Stephanie Zigman, as you know, is our new HR manager. And there was training budgeted for last year by our former HR manager, Rob Pilarchek, and the number that was put in there was a little bit too low. Stephanie is requested to go to the Society of Human Resource Management Annual Conference in Washington, D.C., and it's a little more money at $2,600. She will come back with her SHRM certification, as I understand it, and so we are going to reallocate some money so she can attend that conference, or portions of her SHRM certification. Any comments, Stephanie? Just making you aware of that, we do not need a motion. Any questions, any comments? Okay, all right, next up is surplus property. Spring tooth Colton mulcher, starting bid $25. Large glass display case starting $20, and everything else is scrap. Couple old cameras. Wow, Dell, that goes back a ways. We had Dell computers in a while, so. I'm seeing a motion to declare these items surplus property.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
Yeah, where, you're saying starting bid, where do they advertise
What's it called, Michelle County?
I'm sorry.
Where do they get advertised at? It's a,
They go on a site called Gov Deals.
there you go.
It's a nationwide site.
We've had quite a bit of success using that site because it goes, we've had people come in from out of state and purchase our vehicles, things of that nature, so we've got some pretty good bids.
And how long do you leave them up for? Like what is?
You know, I don't know the exact number of days, but they're left up for the required number of days that it is.
Minimum.
I don't know what it is. But the county commissioners, they may manage it, and then we are pushing this afterwards.
All right, any other questions? Call the roll, Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mrs. DeTore,
Yes.
and Mr. Barker.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up is Commissioners' time. I just have one item. Just a quick update on snowmobiling. There have been 13 permits issued so far. We had some snow early on, so in talking with staff and the management team, we were ready to go. So we did open the trails 12 to 5 that Saturday and Sunday in January. I'm calling the exact dates. The Ranger Department did conduct some directed patrols, and there are no issues that I'm aware of. So, other than that, I don't have anything else to add for Commissioners' time. Did your 3 commissioners have anything?
I do. I would like to request that everybody consider the one thing. I presented a few different agendas, layouts, because to me, I feel that this is extremely vague. And I know that in reality, it's hard to include all of this until we have approved it and accepted it as the minutes, but there are some really nice layouts that are just really explanatory and give just a little further explanation in the light of trying to improve communications. I think that would help. I also think that we should consider approving the agenda on our list, because that's one thing that I think is relatively important, so that we're all, on the same page as to what should be on or what can be removed or added at the beginning of the meeting, rather than having all of these additional things added last minute. We can approve them at the beginning that we were all aware, etc. So just something up for consideration. Maybe we could play with those things and review some different options of agenda layouts. There are several, so I think we can pick there and pick through. I think that there's opportunity to include our motions not only for adjournment, but to approve the next meeting time, etc., ahead of time at the end of our meetings when we do adjournment, etc. So I provided John with a couple. I have a couple more, and we can kind of pick through what works for all of us, if that's okay with you guys.
Anything else? One more item, and then I will request a motion to an executive session. Before I do that, in talking with board members individually as to whether or not this time works well for everyone for continued board meetings, I'm making the suggestion that they remain at 10 a.m. every second Tuesday of the month. So it sounds like that. Is there any disagreement with that? Okay, we'll go ahead and set it. That way we have a calendar to schedule. So, all right, that's it. And I would request a motion to go into executive session for the items listed on the agenda: purchase of property, personnel matters, and pending litigation.
So
For the personnel matter, what was the potential disciplinary? So we have to flush it out.
Potential
Ariel?
Yes, Diane Jones. Is there an expectation of taking any action?
I do
I don't know.
Do we, as a board, do we also have to approve who we invite in to the executive session?
Yes.
Is that something we should do?
Agreement amongst you if you want to invite someone.
I think, and then just to make sure that we're all, dotting our i's, right? The commissioners would like to invite John, as well as who else? Does Mr. Andre need to be there?
Yes, that's
Mr.
correct.
Andre, anybody else? Okay.
Request a motion, go into executive session.
With the executive session.
Second?
Okay. Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mrs. Tori?
Yeah.
And Mr. Martin?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.